Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you had a wonderful weekend. It's finally starting to warm up here in the northern country, so we are quite happy. So 5-minute moneymaker last week was about how to, it says, what is the hardest part of your day? Do you think the hardest part of everybody's day is the same? No, everybody has different like hiccups in their day or different hiccups in their mentality or the way they approach their business. So these are just different things that get in people's ways and how to overcome them. And guys, if you can overcome these things, that's what makes you productive. I was talking to actually an advisor last week, and this is a highly skilled advisor, but he was struggling he only made $150,000 last year. And this is the guy who should be making $1 million a year. And so what do you think the problem with a guy that's making that should be making with the skills to make $1 million a year? What do you think the problem of, but he's only making $150,000. What do you think? Let me see here some examples. What do you think his problem is? Process. I would agree with that. It's a different part of the process, Nick. What else, guys? Yeah, Wade, you got it. It's time management and discipline. So if you look, what do you think is, if I looked at his calendar, what do you think I was going to see on his calendar? Was he working 40 hours a week? And when I say 40 hours a week, was he working 40 hours a week? He might have been at the office 40 hours a week, but was he working 40 hours a week? Because, yeah, busy work, Nick, exactly. So, I don't want to do this for all of you guys, but you should be able to do it for yourself. Look at your calendar the previous week and look at it and say, 40 hours. I had 40 hours last week. 40 hours. What did I do with those 40 hours last week? Did I really squeeze 40 hours worth of work out of the 40 hours that I was here? Now, if you don't want to work a full week, I get that. But then, because we work in a very lucrative, we're one of the few businesses where you can work less than 40 hours a week and still make a great income. But make sure that when you're at the office, you're what? When you're at the office, you're what? Working, productive, exactly. And when you're not at the office, guess what you should do? Leave work at work. Leave work at work. When you're at work, you're working. And because that's the biggest problem I see with smartphones and our ability to take our office with us. Guess what happens? It doesn't make us more productive. It makes us less productive, and it doesn't help our home life. It makes our home life worse. Because when we're at home, we're still dragging our work with us. And when we're at the office, we're dragging our home life with us or entertainment with us. So really, guys, learn to be disciplined in that when you're at work, you're working. And when you're not at work, you're relaxing or doing whatever you do when you're not at work. Don't mix the two because that's never going to be good for you. The 5Q tape breakdown. This advisor does a superb job of handling a situation where the client did not know the answer. Follow his lead. See if you can do it as well as him. So, guys, this is a great example of an advisor handling a client that does not get the right answer. This is a great one for you to go back and listen to if you have not listened to it. Okay. So one of the things that I hear from really the only problem, well, there's two problems. Thank you, first of all. We've got, I think, 2/3 of our guys now using the lead systems. I was surprised, but everybody's using the lead systems. I say everybody. 2/3 is about is everybody, and we have more people coming on every week. So there's two problems with the lead systems. First one is everybody going to pick up the phone when you follow up on that lead? Is everybody going to pick up the phone when you follow up? No. So we actually do have a process that we'll be rolling out here in the next week or two on how to make that go up. But right now, I would say it's about 50-50. Missy, can you chirp in there? What would your guesstimate be on how many leads actually will respond when the advisor? And this is, guys, remember, we have several different lead sources, so it's going to depend on which lead source we're talking about, but we're talking about averages here. And what this is anecdotal, but I think it's about 50-50. So what would you say, Missy?
Yeah, I would say it maybe a hair less than 50-50, maybe closer to 40-60, but by the time they hit that third response or the third outcry to them, I think it will pop it closer to the 50. So after the first and second, you're probably not there yet. After the third, I would give it 50.
Now, when she's talking about third response, we've been experimenting with some unique ways to follow up on these leads, and by the third touch, we're seeing that pop up to about 50. So that's the first problem, okay? But that's not a problem. The leads are cheaper than actual marketing. So do we expect to get 100% of the leads to talk to us? No. Now, we do expect that over time. Why do we expect over time? What should we do with the 50 or 60% of the leads don't talk to us? What should we be doing with them, guys? Yeah, epidemic marketing. Exactly, Nick, Till. Exactly, Jerry, Dave. We want to drip on them because they will come back. Because what's the number one reason people leave their current advisor? What's the number one reason people leave their current advisor? Lack of contact. Exactly right. Lack of contact. So if you're communicating with them once a month or 12 times a year, their guy's only communicating with them once or twice a year. When you're communicating with them, it's not about the money. When their guy's communicating, it's only about the money. And you've heard me say this before. If the only thing you talk about is money, they know the only thing you want is their money. So by us providing constant, probably 10 times as much contact about things that are more important to them, they will eventually come to you. And I get every single week, I get 2 or 3 guys tell me, "God, you know that epidemic marketing? I just got another person from them." So make sure you're doing the epidemic with the people you don't get. Now, that's the first problem, and it's not really a problem with leads. I don't think anybody expects 100% of leads to get back to them. But we do, again, in the next couple of weeks, we'll be rolling out a system that will really increase that for you. But the other thing is this, and it has nothing to do with leads. It has to do with the eye-to-eye. It has to do with a seminar, and it has to do with the leads. Anybody that comes into your office, they come into your office, and then they say they want to go through the process. They say they're going to send in the information. So this is at the first meeting. The second problem with leads and the eye-to-eye and the seminar that guys have is people say they want to move forward, but then do they ever bring in their stuff? I have some guys that say, I don't get it. That's not a problem for me. Everybody does this. I have other guys that it's a problem. So I think it kind of depends on how you communicate at that first meeting. But I want everybody to have no problems with it. So what can you do when they come to that first meeting and they say, yes, I want to go through that process, to make sure that they show up or show up with all of the material? So how do you get them to opt in to the process? Not just say yes, because what's a yes? If they say they want to go through the process and they say, do you want me to do this full checklist on you? And they say yes. What's that worth, guys? What's that worth? Wade's got it. One more. Everybody's got it. It's worth nothing. But, they're excited and they agree. And we think, well, of course, they said yes. They came in. They want to do this. It seems like they're very agreeable. No, yes means nothing. So if yes means nothing, what do we need to get them to do? Tell us why they want to move forward in their own words. So it's really a 3-step process. First thing you're going to say is, why do you want to get blank taken care of? So if their main focus is lower their taxes, you say, so why do you want to get your taxes lowered? Or if it's long-term care, say, so why is it so important that we get long-term care addressed? If it's Social Security, making more from Social Security, say, so why is it so important that we get every cent that you're owed from Social Security? If it's just a process of making sure everything that's that their portfolio is set up correctly, you say, so why is it so important that our portfolio is set up correctly? So whatever their main focus is, you're just going to ask them to say in their own words. It's not a yes. It's not, hey, would you like us to make sure you're paying lower taxes? Hey, would you like to make sure your portfolio is set up correctly? Yep. It's worth nothing. They have to tell you why that's important. Now, any guesses on what the next step would be? There's 3 steps here. Any guesses what the next step would be? Dave, I'd agree with that. That's a good one. Dave says when. That's not necessarily actually it's part of the next answer, I think, Dave. Any other ideas, guys? Very good, Nick. Nick says, what happens if they don't? So the next one is, what would be the consequences if we don't get this taken care of? So great job, Nick. And certainly, Dave, when would be part of that scenario. So, and right, Keith, when or how quickly would be part of that scenario. So why do you want this taken care of? And then what would the consequences be if we did not take care of this? What would the consequences be if we did not take care of this? So not just the good things that can happen if we take care of it, what would be the bad things that happen? And guys, does this sound familiar to our scripts, our 21-point checklist scripts? Think about the 21-point checklist scripts. We always talk about what? Why is a power of attorney a good thing to have? Why is diversification a good thing to have? Why is a experienced advisor or a money manager a good thing to have? Why is having beneficiaries a good thing to have? So we always start with why is something good, and guess what we do here? Why would this be a good thing to take care of? And then in all the 21-point checklist scripts, we talk about, well, what would the consequences be if we hadn't done this? What would the bad things that could occur? And again, we do the same thing here. So really, this is the same template we use with our 21-point checklist scripts. Now, we do add one more thing onto this, and that's playing the devil's advocacy. Because when they go to get that stuff put together, is there some mild inconvenience for them putting that stuff together? Is all that stuff just sitting there right there on their kitchen table when they get home? Now, there's some mild inconvenience. So I want to play devil's advocate with that. So once they've told me why they want to take care of that thing, what the consequences would be if they didn't take care of that thing, I'm going to play the devil's advocate and say, but help me, because you're going to have to go home, and you're going to have to spend, 15 minutes, half an hour going down the stairs, going to the filing cabinet, pulling this stuff out, stuffing into the FedEx envelope, or driving across town and getting, waiting for 15 minutes while my assistant copies it for you. So, I mean, why would it make, why would you even want the hassle of even if it only takes you 15 minutes, a half hour, it's still 15 minutes, half an hour, you can be doing something fun. Why is it even worth doing the hassle? So that's playing the devil's advocacy. I want them to say, well, because I want to get this stuff done. I mean, because they start to argue the case. When you play the devil's advocate like that, they'll actually start arguing the case on why this is a good thing to do and why this should get done and why it's okay to spend 15, 20 minutes on it. Does that make sense? Also, what was my tone of voice when I'm playing devil's advocate? What was my tone of voice? Yeah, I've got nonchalant, inquisitive. I'll do it again. Say so. So sure. I mean, yeah, it makes sense to get this taken care of because if we don't, I'm just going to summarize what they said with number 1 and number 2. Yeah, of course, this makes sense to get taken care of for all these blah 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 reasons. And if we didn't do it, yeah, these bad things are gonna have blah 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 blah. But I don't get it. I mean, is it really worth you going home? Because this stuff isn't laying around. So you gotta go downstairs. You gotta look in the filing cabinet. You gotta pull it out. You gotta put it in a FedEx envelope, or even or you're gonna drive across town, spend 15 minutes while my assistant here makes copies of it. I mean, why? I mean, sure, it's only 15 minutes, half hour, but there's all these things that you could do that would be more fun than that. Why would it make sense to even do that? Yes, John, I think it's slightly sarcastic because I'm playing devil's advocate. So I want them to say, because when you do that, they're going to say, because of this. They start to argue the case. Does that all make sense? Yeah, lightheartedly, Frank. Exactly. Point it out. And I am playing down. I'm saying there's some effort. You're right, Frank. I'm saying there's some effort, but I'm not saying, why are you going to spend 2 hours and have to dig ditches to get this? No, I'm saying there's some mild inconvenience, but I'm having them go through their head living that mild convenience and saying, yeah, I guess it's not really all that much inconvenience to get these things that I want to get done. And I'm going to have them argue that point out loud. If you do these 3 things, guess what's going to happen to the amount of people that will show up or send their stuff? Rather than a yes, how much longer will the reasons that make sense to make that slight effort of going down and getting this material gathered, why would you get more people to actually comply? Because they've done it in their heads, or they've complied in their heads. And our brains, and not to get too scientific on you, but can our brains, if you put a brain under an MRI, can a brain tell the difference between a picture in their head that they imagined and what what actually happened? Can't tell a difference. So I want them. You're right. The brain cannot tell the difference between, and that's why they found like practice shooting free throws is 99% as effective as actually shooting free throws. Practicing in your head is about 99% as efficient as actually shooting the free throws, because the brain can't tell the difference. So by having them walk through this process in their heads, they've actually have seen themselves doing it, and it's going to make them much more compliant in the end. And every advisor I've had do this, guess what's happened to their because when we've listened to their tapes, and people have not been returning, all they've been doing is the clients have been excited, and the clients have said, yes, 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 I want to do this, yes, yes, yes. But then half of them don't bring their stuff back. But when the advisor starts doing these 3 steps, guess what magically happens to the amount of people that bring their stuff in? It goes up significantly. In fact, it goes up to about 90% of the people then bring it up. And because they've already done it in their heads. Does that make sense, guys? So any questions on this? You have them tell you why the good things of getting whatever that major issue they're concerned with taken care of. What will be the consequences of not doing it? And then play the devil's advocate. John's asking, can this work if you get resistance at the end of the 21? Jeff, what do you think, Jeff Freeberg, what do you think my answer is going to be about, can this work if you get resistance at the end of the 21?
Well, yeah, I guess it could work. The thing is, it would be better if you're doing this at the end of every topic. I mean, if you don't do this, if all they do is say, yeah, you're right, I should get a survivor's guide. Yeah, you're right, I should get my will looked at. Yeah, you're right, I should do something about that power of attorney. Yeah, you're right, I should. And then at the end, you say, well, what would be the consequences? You know, it's going to be tough. They're not going to say anything at the end that they didn't say at the beginning and the middle. I think if you do this all throughout the meeting, absolutely, this is going to work. If you try and just spring it at the end, you're going to have a little success with it, but I don't know that it's not going to be near as powerful.
Well, and that's what you said is absolutely 100% on the mark, Jeff. Here's my take on that. If at the end the resistance is the 21, guess what I've figured out about my 21? If at the end the resistance is about the 21, what do I know about my 21? Yeah, you got it, Wade.
The other thing I would
yeah, please.
A lot of times,
right. Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah, a lot of times I'll get a question like this. Okay, I get it. Where's the script for that? Guys, that is the script for that. Because who has to do the talking? They do. So why do you want to get this taken care of? That is the script for that. What would be the consequences? That is the script for that. Well, but it's gonna, why are you gonna go downstairs and march down there and go through the filing? Why is it worth that? That is the script for that. There's not an elaborate script for this because they're the ones that have to do the talking. It's not you doing the talking. It's them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So here's the thing. How do you fix it at the end, guys? How do you fix it at the end if they're still resistant? How do you fix it at the end? And John, you asked the question, how do you think you fix it at the end if they're still resistant? Because if it was as simple as a 2-minute, guess what, guys? If it was as simple as a little 2-minute script at the end of the 21, I'd say, hey, screw all the scripts, just zip all the way through it, and then use this 2-minute script at the end because it'll fix it all. So there is no 2-minute script at the end that'll fix it if you screw up the whole 21. If at the end my 21 is screwed, that's right, I have to go through it again. That's the whole purpose of going backwards through the 21. See, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 21, and then at the end, what do? I go 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15. So as I'm going backwards through it, guess what I'm going to do as I go backwards through it? If at the end there's resistance, I'm going to go. I'll know because as I go backwards through the 21, I'm listening for what? What am I listening for, guys? As I go backwards through the 21, I'm listening for them to say what? That they're worried about the problems or they're mad at the guy. If they're not mad at the guy, then I better do my script right. Now, if I don't know the script at that meeting, guess what I personally would do? And I'll tell you, the year I made $1 million, I probably screwed up 4 cases. And guess how much work I put into saving those cases? What would you guess? I screwed up 4 cases. How much work did I put in? You got it. None. None. Because guess what I decided? Saving this case, I got a 90% chance of not being able to save this case. So how much work did I want to put into 10%? 10% chance? None. But guess what the hell I did over the next week? Guess what I did over the next week? I worked the heck out of that script. I worked the heck out of that tape to see where did I get lazy? Where did I make my shortcuts? What do I need what part of my axe do I need to sharpen? I'm never about trying to fix something that's broken. Guess what I want to make sure? Because it's broken. Guys, if it's broken, you only have a 10% chance of closing that thing. Instead, use it as saying, you know what? That thing will never happen again. Does that make sense? Now, we kind of got off topic. The main thing I want to talk about here is Does everybody get at when they're in that office for the first meeting what you have to do to raise your chances of them bringing all the stuff in or sending all the stuff in significantly? Oh, John, absolutely. That would absolutely be the case, John. So John's just saying, can the devil's advocate also be about why spend the money plus the inconvenience paper? Yeah, that's what I'm doing with the devil's advocate. I'm saying, so why does it make sense to you to go down and pick up all the stuff out of find it in the filing cabinet, bring it in, put it in the FedEx? Yeah, absolutely. That's what you're doing. Is you're saying the inconvenience. Why is it worth the inconvenience? You're right. You're exactly right. So this should help you immensely. If you're still struggling with this, talk to Jeff, talk to myself. We'll be happy to work and role play it a little bit with you. Now, second thing I want to talk about is the power of attorney and Social Security. So we always talk about, what if Social Security makes a mistake, right? And they make tons of mistakes every single, we say 12,000 mistakes every single year. But there's one other thing that could cause a reason for Social Security, them to need the power of attorney with Social Security. What would be the second thing? So if Social Security makes a mistake and quits sending their check, what would be another reason they could quit getting their check? Ah, very good, John. ID theft. ID theft, exactly right. So Social Security benefits stolen by hackers, leaving families with bill. This is right out of Detroit Free Press. Investment News talked about the fact that this is a big problem. So make sure when you're walking through the problems with Social Security and powers of attorney that you're bringing up both things. Not only does Social Security kill 12,000 people a year, but there's also a big problem with ID theft, because when you're incapacitated, how many more people are going to see your private information? When you're incapacitated, how many more people are going to see your private information? Because all of a sudden you've got healthcare workers, you've got administration clerks, you got all sorts of people seeing. So what's going to happen to your chance then of ID theft when you become incapacitated? Go up or go down? Yes. So those are the two reasons why they need to get that fix that you provide them when it comes to Social Security. Make sense? So here's every once in a while, I find a piece of information that I go, holy crap, I can't believe this has landed in my lap. So that we're going to talk about this piece of information, and you guys should be extremely excited here in about 20 minutes, because this is unbelievable information. So first of all, to start with, actively managed fund versus passively managed funds. What have they found? Are actively managed funds or passive funds generally going to make you more? When I say generally, 95% of the time, which one's going to make you more? Passive. Now, here's the funny thing. Not only is passive better, but they found the best passivity of managing funds. The best passivity of managing funds is to actually be dead. How more passive can you be than when you're dead? Now, what do you think I mean by that? Fidelity reviewed which investors did the best, and what they found was hilarious. So they conducted an internal study. They wanted to find out, so they looked at all of their accounts, and they said, we need to figure out who our best investors is. We need to see which investors are having the highest rate of return. And then what we're going to do is we're going to interview those folks. And we're going to find out, what are they doing? What mentality are they using? What system are they using? What technical indicators are they using? What are they doing? Guess what they found out? The people that 90% of the people, over 90% of the people that had the highest rate of return, when they called them up, guess what they found out? They found out that set and forget investing isn't sexy, but it works. In fact, lazy investing is so effective. A study from Fidelity found that the best performing investors had either forgotten about their accounts, or even crazier, they were dead. So what does that say about passive investing, guys? Because Fidelity didn't look at a subsection of accounts. They looked at all of their accounts, and guess what they found? The people who bought, do you see anything in here about which fund they bought? Which sector they bought? Which mutual fund they used? What stock they bought? Is there anything in there about that? No. All it is buy whatever, and then what? Forget about it. So they actually looked at, and this is a different study, but the asset class returns versus the average investor for 20 years from 1993 to 2013. Here's all the different sectors, and here's where the average investor is. The average investor. Because what does the average investor do? They're constantly what? Worried about their rates of return. When it goes up, they want to buy more. When it goes down, they want to sell. Now, is it only, do you think it's only when they're talking about the average investor, are they only talking about the amateurs, or are they talking about amateurs and professionals there? Both. That's right. They're talking about both. Because are most people do-it-yourselfers, or do most people use advisors? Most use advisors. So this is including both of them there. Okay? So please, please, please don't make promises you can't keep. What are the only two promises we make to people when it comes to their equity side of their portfolio? What are the only two promises we make when it comes to people, or I'm sorry, there's three promises that we make with equity people. Number one is that if the market goes up, your account's going to what? Yeah, you got it, Dave. When the market goes up, your account's going to go up. When the market goes down, your account's going to what? Go down. And most times, historically, the market has gone up more than down. Would I be willing to bet my house on that? Yeah. See, I don't make a promise. I don't make any promises unless I will bet my house on it. Will I bet my house that if the market goes up, their account will go up? Yeah, I will. Will I bet my house that if the market goes down, their account will go down? Yes, I will. And it's pretty easy. You just look at it, at any historical chart, and the market goes up more often than down. And if I'm pounding that into their heads, when the market goes down, am I going to have any argument from them? And everybody answer this. Am I going to have any argument from them on the equity side? No, because I've been preparing them for it. So that's the only promise you should make. What you don't want to do, and here's what I hear advisors do. I've got a guy, it's first of all, kudos to everybody. I don't think, and Jeff, maybe you can pipe in here. I haven't heard for the longest time that my guy's got it figured out. He's going to make more than the market. Have you heard that I haven't heard that for a while, Jeff. Have you heard that from anybody?
No, I haven't heard that.
So at least you guys have got to figure out. No manager is going to say that they can beat the market. I think that's been beat out of everybody. But what I do here is this. My money manager won't necessarily give you all the upside, but it's going to protect you from the downside. Do money managers say things like this, guys? Well, let's take a look at it. Will actively managed funds outperform index funds? The huge flow into index funds and ETFs has been a large part of the futility of active managers' efforts to outperform their benchmarks. One of the arguments from active managers is that while they're falling behind on the raging bull market, they're going to provide cover and outperform in the down markets. And according to Standard & Poor's, it wasn't the case in the last two bear markets. So this is 2008 and this is 2002, the last two bear markets. Percent of active managers outperformed by benchmarks in the bear market. So over half, 74%, 83%. So how many of the active managers were beating the index guys on the down markets? Most, or much less, or not many? I've got two answers. So that means what? Okay, I got more. That's, come on. Okay, good. So guys, should we ever tell, and we've talked about this, even if this was true, it's not true. We're seeing facts right here. It is not true. But even if it was true, how does it play with the client when you say, geez, the market's down 30%, you're only down 20%. I saved you that 10%. How does that play with a client? Do they pat you on the back for saving them that 10%? Yeah, no, they don't care. I'm still down 20%. They could care less if they're down less than the market. They're just not happy. Make sense? So this is Michael Caine saying, I'll always be there because I'm a skilled professional actor. Whether or not I have any talent is beside the point. So guys, our professional money managers will say all sorts of things, whether they have any talent or not. And we believe them because they're a professional money manager. Should we believe them when they say those things if they're professional, but just because they're a professional money manager? Just because they throw out all these algorithms and everything else? If they could really do that, how big would their minimum client size be? If they could really do that, what would their minimum client size be? Yeah, 100 million. I'd agree, Kevin. 100 million. So any of our money managers who are taking accounts for $1 million or $2 million minimum account size, they ain't all that. They ain't all that. So what should our what is the best asset allocation, guys? This is the exciting thing that I want you on the call for today. What is the best asset allocation? Well, Roger Ibbotson, professor, everybody here know who Roger Ibbotson is? You've probably seen some of his Ibbotson charts. So he's a professor at Yale School of Management, professor emeritus of management. So he is a practice emeritus at Yale School of Management. He's also chairman of CIO of Zebra Capital Management, an LLC equity management hedge fund manager. He's a founder and advisor, former chairman of Ibbotson Associates, now a Morningstar company. He's written numerous books, articles, stocks, bonds, bills, inflation with Rex. So this guy is is this guy pro stocks or anti stocks, guys? Everybody answer this. Pro stocks, anti stocks. He is pro stocks. He loves stocks. What's the most relevant to you is whether or how you're doing something different from what everybody else is doing. What's most relevant to you is whether and how you're doing something different from what everybody else is doing. So first of all, thanks to Millen, David, John, Jeff, Jonathan, Steve, Richard, Sean. You guys all sent me this article, guys. I'm constantly reading. I'm on every email list. I get all the different magazines, but I always love it when you guys have your eyes looking for articles that I can use as well. So all these guys sent me this article that I'm about to share with you, written by Ibbotson. And then I also want to thank Michael Smith and Tom Zitkow, because they have been very instrumental in all the things that we have been rolling out with the marketing. So thank you guys as well. But as far as the article, these guys all sent the article, guys. Any extra pair of eyes that can look for things, if you see, and Mark also sends me things. Papa, you always send me things too. So I greatly appreciate you guys keeping your eyes out there for articles, things like that. Yes, I'm reading all those things, and many times I've seen it. But in this particular case, you guys saw it far before I saw it, so I appreciate it. And it was written in wealthmanagement.com. So Ibbotson, fixed index annuities beat out bonds. In his latest research, economist Robert Ibbotson argues that fixed index annuities have the potential to outperform bonds in the near future and smooth the return pattern of a portfolio. So what have we been saying forever? What do we use our fixed index annuities for? Yep, bond replacements. And guess what he's saying? The right thing to do. So Ibbotson's seminal work was around the idea that as you take on more risk in a portfolio, you get a higher return, but the risk is volatile. And as one approaches retirement, they can't afford the lack of stability. So in a white paper, fixed index annuities consider the alternative. Ibbotson and his team at Zebra Capital Management ran hypothetical return simulations from 1927 to 2016 and found that net of fees, fixed index annuities had an annualized return of 5.81% compared to 5.32% for long-term government bonds and 9.92% for large cap stocks over that period. And this is a period of both rising and falling yields. First of all, guys, what are we saying? What do we use as our cap right now? What's the cap generally on most on a simple FIA? What's the cap right now? What do we use in our presentation? 50%. What's the actual return in the last, I don't know how many years there, 1997, 2016? Half or more than half? More than half, exactly. So he's saying annualized return, 9.92 for large stocks, 5.32. FIAs beat. Now he's saying in the near term, guys, 1927 to 2016, is that near term or that's long term? Long term. And it beat government bonds. Standard deviation, 19 or almost 20%, 9.97, 10 points, so about the same with long-term bonds. Minimal analyzed rate of return, minus 27, minus 2, 0. Maximum, 30, 23, 27. So looking at the maximum 3-year return, geez, how did FIAs do even compared to the market? And certainly as compared to the bonds. So this is a huge thing. This is 1927 to 2016. But here's the thing. Where are we right now with bonds? High or low? 50-year highs or 50-year lows? Or 100-year highs or 100-year lows? Lows, lows, lows. We're way as low as we could possibly be. So what's going to happen to bonds going forward? Are we in a pro-bond environment, or is about as anti-bond environment as you can get? This is about as anti-bond environment as you can get. So Ibbotson also simulated different portfolios and how they would perform in a below-median bond return environment, which he believes we're heading into. Duh. Guys, did you need Ibbotson to tell you that we're in a below-median bond return environment? Are we in a below-return bond return environment? Heck yeah, but we can't get any more negative bond return environment than we're in right now. So he's comparing it versus above median bond environments. During below median bond return environments from 1927 to 2016, a 60-40 stocks and bonds portfolio returned 7.6% on average. That compares to 8.1% for 60-20-20 stocks, bonds, fixed index annuities. Portfolio with 8.63% for a 60-40 stocks, fixed index annuity. What is he now proposing, guys? What is he now proposing? Something almost what to what we do? The highest rate of return for stocks and fixed annuity. He's basically saying do what we recommend. So below median and above median bond performances. So right here, 60-40 FIA, 8.63. Are we in an above 8.92? And guys, even if it was 1970s and we're in an environment where bonds were better, how much better did the bonds work as compared to the FIA? Even if we're in 1970 when interest rates were at 20%, how much better did it do than FIAs? Not enough to matter, exactly. So now we have somebody who, if you talk to any guy that manages stocks, any guys that trade stocks, any money manager, would they know who Roger Ibbotson is? Would anybody who does anything with stock know who Roger Ibbotson was? Is he respected? Yes. And what is he basically endorsing right now? What we at 5Q have been doing since 2000. So guys, if you need any more proof that what we're doing is the right thing to do, it's right here. It's a 50-50 portfolio. And Missy, we get a lot of questions here about people wanting the article. Do we have the link to the article someplace?
Yes, I'll go ahead and post the link with the call replay that they can just download directly from there as well.
So with this information and the FIA presentation, what should your closing ratio be on the FIA? Now here's the funny thing. We've had a 95% closing ratio with just the FIA presentation without this information. Why? Why do we have a 95% closing ratio with the FIA presentation without this presentation? Because they say it, exactly. They spent an hour telling us 100 times why an FIA is better than a safe investment, better than a market investment. It's more liquid than a safe investment, more liquid than a market investment, has fairer fees than a safe investment and a market investment. And it should be, if I have a safe investment and a market investment, I need to move it to an FIA right now. If they tell me that 100 times in an hour, what are they going to do? They're going to move it. So a lot of people are saying, hey, Mike, should I use this presentation? Should I use this article with clients? What do you think my answer to that's going to be? What do you think my answer? No, 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 no. Guys, can you prove anything to somebody who doesn't believe you? No. So what do you, if you show them the article, what are you trying to do? If you show them the article, what are you trying to do? Tell, sell, preach, and teach. Guys, remember I've talked about this. Emerson University back in the in 2000s, and they've done many studies since then, but I'm just going to use that one because it's the one I'm familiar with. You remember Abu Ghraib prison, where they supposedly took and tortured terrorists? Do you remember that? Abu Ghraib prison, they tortured terrorists. At least that's what that's been said. So they took two groups of people, and they gave one group of people tons of proof that they did not torture, video proof, testimonial proof, documentation. They did not torture. They took the other group of people and they gave them a ton of proof, video proof, testimonials, and data showing they did torture. So one group, they gave tons of proof that they didn't torture, tons of proof that they did. The other group, tons of proof that they did torture. Then they just mixed them all together, and they gave them a survey. And depending on how they answered just one question, was, are you pro-military? Are you positive about our military versus are you positive about Amnesty International? Those that answered that they were positive towards Amnesty International, regardless of whether they're in group 1 or group 2, guess what they said about whether they tortured or not? What do you think they said? They said, yeah, they tortured. 92% of them said, yes, we tortured. And if they were pro-military, even if they were in the group that said proved that there was torture, guess what they said? No, we didn't torture. So what did that say? What did those people that saw all that proof say about the proof? So if it's proof disagreeing with what I believe in, what do I say about that proof? It's baloney. It's baloney. It's not valid. So then the question is, why did I even show this to you? Why did I even show you this proof if I didn't want you to be using it with clients? Because guys, Jeff, what would you say about an advisor who uses that proof to sell a client, an FIA?
Well, you don't trust your ability to have a conversation with people. You're hoping the article will do it for you. And I'll tell you, 9 times out of 10, the article will gum things up, even though it's a great article. You'll give it to people and they'll say, hey, are you ready to do that thing? Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, I haven't read your article yet. I was going to do that. Call me next week.
And then they go onto Google, and what else do they find?
Yeah, other articles. Hey, I have some questions about your article. So the article is for you. It's for you to know that you're doing the right thing, to give you the confidence to have those conversations with people.
That's exactly what it's for. It's so that when you look somebody in the eye, you are what percentage sure that they're doing the right thing? When they tell you they want to move that money to FIAs, how sure are you? You're 1,000, 100,000% sure, exactly. 1,000% sure, not 100% sure. You're 1,000% sure. Make sense? So when you've mastered the crib notes and motive, your daily practice in the MIFT and GOTS, 5-minute money making tape breakdowns, that's when you're going to close every single client you want to close. Make sense? And Tricia, I saw you did get that link to everybody, and otherwise it'll be on the website with the call. So that don't, guys, proving things with third-party articles is what somebody who's skilled at what they do does, or somebody who's unskilled does. Because if all it took was a bunch of articles, how rich would we all be? We'd all be rich. It's not. That article is so you know you're doing the right thing. Super. You guys have a fantastic week, and then we'll talk to you all next Monday. Thanks, everybody.